Hello, friends. Welcome to This Day in Jack Benny. I'm John Henderson. This is not a regular episode, but a special presentation. This is the 10th anniversary of this podcast. To celebrate this milestone, we're looking back at Jack Benny's 10th anniversary. The very first episode of The Jack Benny Show was on May 2nd, 1932, but that wasn't his first time on the radio. He famously had a guest spot with Ed Sullivan a couple of months earlier, on March 20th, 1932. That appearance is often cited as Jack Benny's first time on the radio, but according to newspaper archives, there were at least a couple of earlier radio appearances. Jack was on a radio show called the MGM Movie Club on October 9th, 1929. And before that, on February 19th, 1929, he appeared on a show called the RKO Hour. Now, maybe they couldn't remember the exact details, or maybe they split the difference between his very first time on the radio and his big break with Ed Sullivan. Either way, May 9th, 1941 was selected as the official 10th anniversary, and NBC hosted a gala dinner in Jack Benny's honor.
Outstanding work of the man we honor tonight on his 10th year in radio, Mr. Jack Benny.
Today we're going to hear a couple of shows leading up to that 10th anniversary dinner. First, on the Sunday before, Jack was on a program called Behind the Mic. Then on that Friday night, just before the dinner, there was a special tribute show. So that's from May 4th and 9th, 1941. If it feels like something is missing, it's the studio audience. Plus, Jack isn't in character, but appears as himself. If you'd like to celebrate this podcast, no need to throw a dinner, but please tell a friend about This Day in Jack Benny. Happy anniversary, and enjoy the show.
Radio's own show, Behind the Mic. We bring you from Hollywood the one and only Jack Benny being interviewed by Don Wilson. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for a really big moment. May 9th marks the 10th year of regular appearances on the air for a comedian who is unique in the history of radio, Jack Benny. As a matter of fact, Jack will be honored on this anniversary at a gala banquet this Friday night. I had the honor and pleasure of being the announcer on Jack's first commercially sponsored program. And our orchestra leader, Ernie Watson, was saxophonist in George Olson's orchestra, which appeared with Jack on that show. That's why we think it's particularly fitting that Behind the Mic helped Jack celebrate his anniversary. We take you to Hollywood, California, where Don Wilson will interview the one and only Jack Benny.
Thank you, George Hicks, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As George has already told you, Jack Benny will be honored on his 10th anniversary in radio at the gala banquet this coming Friday night, May 9th, at the Biltmore Bowl of the Biltmore Hotel here in Los Angeles.
Gee, I'm nervous already.
Since Jack is one of the very few radio stars who can point to such a record of achievement, it is only fitting that he should appear on today's broadcast of Behind the Mic. Both Jack and I have just left rehearsal for today's Jell-O program, and while the cast continues across the hall, we've come over here to this little studio to take part in Behind the Mic for a few moments so that Jack can answer some questions about his career in radio, and I'll try to put myself in the role of a typical Jack Benny fan. First, Jack, here's a question that especially fits the occasion. Supposing we go back 10 years and have you tell us about your very first appearance on radio. What was it like, and was it a sponsored show or on the cuff like this one?
Well, Don, I went on the radio for the first time early in 1932 when Ed Sullivan, the Broadway columnist, invited me to make a guest appearance on his program in New York.
Do you remember what you said?
No. Oh, yes. I'll never forget it. Look what it got me into.
Well, let's hear about it.
All right, I'll give it to you. Now, just to illustrate how times change, particularly in radio, it was a little monologue affair where I walked to the microphone and said, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jack Benny talking. There will be a slight pause while you say, who cares? Now, that was funny then, Don. It may not sound funny now, but they screamed at it then. Anyway, I went on. I said, I am here tonight as a scenario writer. There's quite a lot of money in writing scenarios for pictures. Well, there would be if I could sell one. They even laughed at that then. Anyway, I'm going back to pictures in about 10 weeks. I'm going to be in a new film with Greta Garbo. They sent me the story last week, and it's a very novel idea. When the picture opens, I'm found dead in the bathroom. I hear. Now, they screamed at that, Don. Imagine 10 years ago. Anyway, I was found dead in the bathroom. I say it's a sort of a mystery show. I'm found in a bathtub on a Wednesday night. I should have been in Miss Garbo's last picture, but they gave the part to Robert Montgomery. You know, politics. The funny part of it is I'm really younger than Montgomery. That is, I'm younger than Montgomery and Ward. You'd really like Garbo. She and I were great friends in Hollywood. She used to let me drive her car around town. Of course, she paid me for it. Well, that was it, Don. That's what I said when I first went on the air. That was my first crack at radio.
Well, Jack, if you don't mind my saying so, it sounds a bit like a vaudeville routine.
That's true, Don. Don't forget that radio was unknown to me then, and I didn't know whether it was good material or not. I could judge only by stage standards, particularly vaudeville, where I had gained most of my experience.
What was the reaction to your first broadcast, Jack?
Nobody liked it but me. However, on the strength of it, I landed my first radio commercial just 2 weeks later.
Well, I don't blame you for saving the script as a souvenir. But tell me, Jack, when did Mary Livingston start her heckling career on the air with you?
Oh, she's been in my hair since June of 1932. But she did all right by herself before that in vaudeville.
When was that?
Well, about 12 years ago in New York. And it all happened because the girl who ordinarily worked with me became ill just before the show one night. Mary volunteered to substitute, and she's been working at it ever since.
I think that our listeners would like to hear something about the other members of the cast, Jack. Take Rochester, for instance. How long has he been with you?
Well, Rochester started with the program back in 1937 when he won an audition over 50 other contenders for the role of a Pullman porter. Just a bit part that we had written in for one broadcast only.
But it didn't work out that way.
That's right. He was so good that we kept him on for another week, then another, until he finally became a regular member of the cast.
Well, Jack, I'm often asked about the preparation of your program. How long does it take on the average?
Well, we never stop working. The schedule is something like this. After a Sunday night broadcast, I get together with Bill Morrow and Ed Baloin, my writers, and we hand over different ideas for next week. Then we meet early Monday morning and start working. That goes on throughout the week until our first rehearsal, generally held either Friday or Saturday, then rewriting Saturday night and Sunday morning for the actual broadcast.
You know, Jack, when Mort Lewis asked me to interview you today, he made a specific request that I inquire about your fan mail. He'd like to know about some of the odd and unusual letters that you receive each week.
Well, they are odd and unusual. Honest, Don, you should have my tinfoil troubles.
Tinfoil troubles? Now, what does that mean?
Well, you remember the program early this season when I talked about my collection of tinfoil?
Yes.
Well, ever since that time, Don, I've received letters by the hundreds containing bits of tinfoil to be added to my collection. Believe me, I must have gotten at least 30 pounds of it. And that doesn't count the letters asking me to give the tinfoil to various charities.
Well, Jack, no interview with you would be complete without a few words about your classic feud with Fred Allen. Now, did Allen make the first crack at you or vice versa?
Well, naturally, Don, he started it. I wouldn't say anything nasty. Well, here's what happened, Don. A few years ago, when Allen had amateurs on his program, a little 9-year-old kid named Stuart Kennan played the B on his violin. And when he got through, Allen made a crack that Jack Benny couldn't do that. He ought to be ashamed of himself. Naturally, I was wounded. So I let my nails grow and clawed back. And as many times I've given him a good scratching, I have yet to strike blood. Anyway, Don, that's how it started.
That has been going on ever since.
Yes, sir.
Well, Jack, we're just about through now, and as it's your anniversary, of course, you get the last word.
All right, Don. I just want to thank Mort Lewis for the invitation to appear on today's broadcast for Behind the Mic.
That goes for me, too, Jack. We now take you back to New York.
Thank you, Jack Benny and Don Wilson. May you both have many more radio anniversaries.
York's Radio City, the Midwest, and on the Pacific Coast, groups of radio entertainers are gathered together tonight to commemorate Jack Benny's 10 years in the realm of broadcasting, to pay tributes to the man distinguished as one of America's foremost radio comedians. In opening the New York portion of our show, we present some of Jack Benny's pals, men who've been his friends since his early days of broadcasting. You'll hear tributes from Eddie Cantor, Ed Sullivan, Ed Thorgerson, Aloy Zavrilla, and Ole Olson of the team of Olson and Johnson. Men whose friendship for Jack Benny has been cemented by close association through the years. Men who tonight, at the peak of Jack Benny's career, still know him as a loving friend. And now, let's join these gentlemen who are gathered together in another studio.
Eddie, what do you think about it? Look at fella, let's get this straight. Jack Benny.
Yeah.
He's a pretty lucky stiff. So he lasted 10 years, so all right. Three things have kept him going, just three things. Rochester, Carmichael, and Schlepperman.
And the gas man.
Yeah, and just because he got the breaks, does that mean I have to drop everything? Forget about my own radio show? Ipana and Salapatica Wednesday nights?
Silver Theater,
Do
summer
I have
show.
to do that?
And the hell's a papa.
Yeah.
Movie tone news.
New York News.
Do I have to run down here and make speeches and get in trouble? A fine thing.
And me, too. Just because I was the guy's first announcer, I'm hooked.
Ole Olson, what do you say?
I knew Benny in the vaudeville days. I knew him when it was Benny Kabelski. And then he was Benny of Benny and Woods.
Yeah.
And then he changed, then it was Ben Benny.
Good. We go on the air in a couple of minutes. And as soon as we do, I'll say, Jack Benny, the so-and-so and so-and-so, and introduce you, Ed Sullivan, okay? What do you say, Ed?
What can I say, Eddie? 10 years ago, I happened to introduce Jack Benny on the radio, so what happens? He stands there and he's nervous as a goat. When I say that, I'm thinking of a very nervous goat. He does his first routine and was at Corny. Every time since then, when Jack Benny is celebrating anything, I get wires asking me to participate.
Well, that's good, Eddie. What you say is all right, but it'll stand a bit of editing. Okay, then I introduce Ed Thorgerson. What do you say, Ed? Huh?
Well, my story's pretty much the same as Eddie Sullivan's, except I happen to be Benny's first announcer. Well, you know how it is. You're an announcer, so anybody comes along, you announce them. Well, I announced Benny. All right. Does that mean that I have to be trotted out every anniversary and aired tonsils and all so people can hear the voice that first announced the voice of Jack Benny? Is that good radio?
No.
Is it good even?
No. Well, that's all right. But I think you can fix that a little, too. Make it comical. Before we go on the air. Lois, really, your turn, huh?
Well, I wasn't his first announcer or his first anything. I was just associated with him in those early days. Well, I associated with all kinds of people in the early days, and still do. But none of them reach out and ask me to perform like a trained seal every time they have an anniversary.
Certainly not.
No. If our positions were reversed, do you think Benny would leave his home in Hollywood and
Definitely
rush
not.
to a studio to pay tribute to me?
Benny!
He's killing
We
me.
fellas know Benny. We know whether he would or not. Thank you.
I think the thought is there, Lois.
Yeah.
But you better watch it pretty close when the mic opens up. I guess we're ready, kiddies, huh?
All right, man, watch it. Stand by.
Yeah.
Stand up.
You probably missed that main bout altogether.
Quiet, Sullivan. This is it.
On the air. Eddie Cantor.
Jack Benny. What a sweetheart of a guy.
Ed Sullivan.
What a lovable character.
Ed Thorgerson.
What a hail fellow well met.
Aloy Zavrilla.
Everybody's friend.
Ole Olson.
Jack Benny, personality puss.
No.
Plus. Typographical
Jack
error.
Benny. For 10 long years, he has shown the way. 10 long years during which three things have kept him going. Just three things.
No, don't say that, Eddie.
Talent, energy, and good hard work.
Attaboy, Eddie.
Good old Jack.
And now that he has reached a golden milestone in his career, we, his pals, are glad to drop everything. Our own radio shows, Ipana and Salapatica,
Silver
Wednesday
Theater,
night.
summer show.
And gather around. All right,
New
all
York
right.
News.
Now, all right, and we gather around to pay him tribute. A fine thing, an excellent thing, a thing I am proud to be a part of. Congratulations, Jack Benny.
Ah, what a gentleman.
What a personality.
And now, the man who proudly wears the distinction of having first introduced Jack Benny to a radio audience, Ed Sullivan.
Thank you, Eddie. 10 years ago, I happened to introduce a performer on the radio, and what happens? He stands there, a bit nervous perhaps, but about him there's the demeanor of an artist who knows where he's going. Jack Benny, for it was indeed he must have foreseen his triumph tonight. All week long, people have been congratulating me on having presented Jack on his first show. And right now, I'm proud to be the man who presented the man we honor tonight, Jack Benny. Thank you.
And the man who shares honors with Ed Sullivan, Jack Benny's first announcer, Ed Thorgerson.
Well, Eddie, you know how it is when you're an announcer. Anybody comes along, you announce them. You get pretty discouraged sometimes, but once in a while, in the flotsam and jetsam of life, along comes a personality. That's how Jack Benny came floating along one day.
In the flotsam or the jetsam?
Yes. And so I announced him. And that day was a turning point in my life and his, too, I guess. Sometimes I get discouraged, and then I say, look here, Thorgerson, you're the guy who first announced Jack Benny. Remember? And then I remember.
Then he remembers.
And we hear now from another who knew Jack Benny in the early days, Alois Havrilla.
Yes, I was associated with Jack Benny in the early days. I associated with all kinds of people in those early days. And Jack Benny stood out from the crowd. I have a lot of old friends of the early days, but Jack Benny is the only one who remembers when anniversary time rolls around and sends his call across the miles, summoning the old gang together again as of yore.
There's only one Benny.
If our positions were reversed tonight, do you think Benny would leave his home in Hollywood and rush to a studio to pay tribute to us? We fellows know Benny. What do you think, fellows?
What a pal, that Benny. The next speaker, a man who passed up a hunting trip to be with us, Ole Olson.
I knew Jack Benny in the old vaudeville days, you know. That's enough for anybody who knows vaudeville and anybody who knows Benny. What a man. My partner, Chick Johnson, he knows vaudeville and he knows Benny. He left on a hunting trip the other day, and the last thing he said to me was...
Ole, are you all right?
Now, wait, don't worry about me. I'll get it. I'm all right. You know, the last thing Chick Johnson, my partner, said to me was, Ole, I'll be sure to be back for the Benny anniversary. But if I ain't, you know, he says, if I ain't, you will know the moose got me.
Yeah.
Just say for me that on Jack Benny's program, Jack Benny is the seventh delicious flavor. Now, that's what he said. The seventh delicious flavor. Thank you.
I hope the moose got him. Ole, did he say what flavor?
He didn't say.
Maybe it's just as well. And so, folks, to our friends near and far, and to Jack Benny, Mary, and all the gang in Hollywood, it's time for us to pass the show on. And as the music begins, I think across the miles to Hollywood and say, Dear Jack, here are congratulations from the gang right across this great nation. The words come from the heart, 'cause we feel we're a part of your 10 happy year celebration. Well, anyway, we won't have to do that for another 10 years, huh?
And so we take you to hear the Quiz Kids, who this evening are in Gary, Indiana.
Read that telegram again, Joan, about the anniversary banquet in Los Angeles.
Dear Jack, that anniversary makes fine bait. Just how much do you get a plate?
Gee, I hate to send a smarty thing like that.
Well, you'll have to make up your minds pretty soon if we want to get this wire off before the celebration's over.
But he's really such a fine person. Sure, look at these beautiful watches gave all of us when we left. To Gerard from Jack Benny. And when you remember all the other nice things he did for us. Yes, and the way all the members of his troupe talked about him, that impressed me. Me too, Claude. They work with him day in and day out, and they all love him. They said he's even generous. Sometimes, Richard, I wish they didn't make so many jokes about him.
Well, you boys were with him a lot more than I was. But look how he butted in that night on our program, and how he's always telling people to shut up. That's not very nice.
But that's all in fun, Joan. Sure, he's not that way at all. You should have seen the way he stopped a rehearsal when Joni, his 7-year-old adopted daughter, left to play at a children's recital.
He probably wanted to know if she was getting paid.
No, he stopped everything just so he could take her on his knee and kiss her and wish her good luck. That was sweet, the way she went around telling everybody her father really knew the answers on our program. He had to act that way because he's a comedian. I wish there was some way we could make everybody know that we weren't fooling. And just tell them we know Mr. Benny and he's as fine as they come.
But that's his act, Gerard. For 10 years he's made people laugh by turning all the jokes on himself.
Joan's right, Gerard. Why, if people had heard us talking a moment ago about how intelligent and good he really is, we might have ruined his whole career. That would be a tragedy for the nation. With as much sorrow as there is in the world today, people must laugh sometimes and laugh heartily to keep their sanity. We'd better get that wire off right away. Yeah, maybe we can make it a little nastier. How did that go again, Joan?
That anniversary makes fine bait. Just how much do you get a plate?
Let's move along to Hollywood.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Don Wilson. For the first time in 8 years, I'm making an appearance on the same show with Jack Benny and not saying anything about Jell-O. Seriously, though, I'd like to bring to the microphone here in Hollywood at this time a young lady who is one of the screen's loveliest and most talented performers and a very good friend of Jack's, Miss Claudette Colbert.
Thank you, Don. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to add my good wishes to Jack Benny at this time. You know, we gals here in Hollywood think a lot more of Jack than he'd have you believe on his program. A few months ago, I appeared with Jack on the Screen Guild radio show, and besides having a lot of fun, I think I learned the secret of Jack Benny's success. Hard work and a gift for natural human comedy. There's a man who really loves his job. Any branch of the entertainment world is better for having Jack share a spot in it. And I trust that this tribute to his 10 years in radio will bring him the knowledge of the tremendous regard and loyalty of both his co-workers and his listeners.
Thank you, Claudette. A few months ago, when Jack had occasion to make a hurried trip east, a very prominent film star was called in to act as our master of ceremonies. This was a new field for this gentleman, both during Jack's absence and afterwards, made him a great fan of Jack's and made Jack an even greater fan of his. I refer, of course, ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. Herbert Marshall.
Thanks, Don. Don Wilson's words should indicate quite clearly to you that apparently I have the distinction of being the only radio stand-in Jack Benny has ever had. And to be frank about it, I must admit that I enjoy the situation thoroughly. And although Dennis Day still refers to me as Hubert, I didn't have nearly as much trouble as Jack does every Sunday night. Tonight's program is first a radio celebration. But I should also like to say a word about Jack's fine contribution to the world of motion pictures. In these times, one has to search pretty deeply for things that will constructively banish worry and concern. We are honoring a man tonight who has the ability to handle such a task and has been doing it for a great many years. So, hats off to you, Jack, old boy. And we're all looking forward to a continued association with you for tens of years to come.
Thank you, Bart Marshall. The next time I see Denny, I'll speak to him about that Hubert. Among the many people who will be present at the Biltmore Hotel when the testimonial dinner will be given for Jack later this evening will be another pioneer in the radio field. Starting in Chicago, moving on to New York, known as NBC's best salesman, he is with us here now. The president of the National Broadcasting Company, Mr. Niles Trammell.
It is a privilege for any broadcaster or for any individual in America to be able to pay tribute to a man who, by his own ingenuity and effort, has contributed so much to our pleasure and relaxation. Week after week, our comedians gave us back our perspective and restored us to sanity and peace of mind. But our trials and tribulations are not yet over. The spots we're seeing in front of our eyes are mere specks in the light of what the future may hold in store. For the past 18 months, most of the news radio has given you has been bad, and it seems the worst is yet to come. It is in times like these that we are compelled to ask ourselves, what is the greatest asset of a nation girding itself for the defense of not only its own shores, but of our entire hemisphere? My answer is this: the morale of the American people. You and I know that a war is not always won on a battlefront. More often, it is won on the home front. It is the everyday people, the backbone of America, who in the past decade turned to Jack Benny and other radio and screen comedians for relaxation and sanity. It is to Jack Benny's that they will continue to turn whether we go to war or not. And so the greatest thing that radio and motion pictures and all other forms of entertainment can do in our present national emergency, or for the sake of our national defense in the future, is this: maintain our national morale by continuing to give the American people the same normal sources of relaxation and entertainment so admirably exemplified by the outstanding work of the man we honor tonight on his 10th year in radio, Mr. Jack Benny.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. You know, ladies and gentlemen, many times in the past on the Jell-O show, we've said, in fancy, we take you now to Jack's home, or we whisk you to Beverly Hills. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we actually take you to the Benny home in Beverly Hills, where Mr. and Mrs. Jack Benny are getting ready for the big banquet this evening.
Darn these suspenders, there's no give in them. Mary, how does this dress suit look? Gee, I haven't had it on in so long.
Oh, it looks all right, Jack.
The sleeves seem too short. Gee, wasn't it swell of all those friends of ours to go on the air tonight and pay me this tribute?
Certainly was. Gosh, I'm all goose pimples.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Mary, hand me that clothes brush.
Get it yourself. The tribute is over.
Well, it's right there on your dresser. You can hand it to me.
That's not a clothes brush. That's my hat.
Oh. What'll women wear next? By the way, how much did that hat cost?
I'll tell you after the banquet. I don't want to ruin your evening.
Thanks. Oh, darn it, I can never make a decent bow. Mary, will you please fix this tie for me?
Why don't you wear that elastic one that's already tied?
Nothing doing. Phil Harris is going to be at the banquet. He'll be snapping it all night. That's his idea of comedy.
Oh, okay, I'll tie it. All right, now hold up your head.
There. Not too tight, Dal.
Say, Jack, this is going to be a pretty big affair. Don't you think you ought to wear a full dress suit instead of your tuxedo?
This is a full dress suit.
Well, where are the tails?
Oh, for heaven's sake, can't you see? Well, I'll be darned, I got them tucked in my pants. Imagine that. Gee, I'm so nervous. Gee, I hope I can remember my speech tonight.
Well, if you forget it, I'll finish it for you. I've only heard it 1,000 times.
Well, I'm an ad-lib comedian. I got to know what I'm going to say. Now, let's see. I better go over it again. Ladies and gentlemen, mere words fail to express my deep appreciation for this wonderful gesture. And I
thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, yes.
My goodness, Jack.
I'll draw a heart on my cuff. That'll remind me of it. Another thing, Mary, at the end of my speech, I mustn't forget to mention the people who have been associated with me during all these years. Let's see, of course, I'll mention my present cast. You know, Don Wilson, Phil Harris, Dennis Day, and Rochester.
And Mary Livingston.
Yes, of course.
Oh, and don't forget Andy Devine and Schlepperman.
That's right, Andy and Schlepp. And then I want to mention Ed Sullivan again. You know, he was the first one, I was on the air for. And then when I first started out on Canada Dry Ginger Ale, there was Ed Thorgerson, George Hicks, George Olson. You remember George Olson?
Yes,
Ethel Chate, and Paul Douglas, Ted Weems.
And Andrea Marsh.
Yeah, Andrea. Of course, Andrea. Then there was the bunch who worked with me on Chevrolet. You remember? There was Frank Black, James Melton, Howard Claney. And then, then later on in that same series, there was Frank Parker and Aloys Havrilla.
And Mary Livingston.
Mary, everybody knows that. Let's see, and then when we went on General Tires after that's where Don Wilson joined us. And also Don Bester.
Remember those spats he used to wear?
Yeah, I bet he still got them on. Now, let's see, where did we go from General Tires?
To Jell-O.
Oh, yes, good old Jell-O. That was back in 34. And then a little later on, Johnny Green joined us. Gosh, how he used to play the piano.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget Michael Bartlett.
That's right, Michael Bartlett. And then Kenny Baker came along. Remember how bashful he was?
Yeah,
That Kenny was a swell kid. I wonder what program he's on now.
He's with Fred Allen, and you know it.
Well, anyway, after Kenny... Oh, yeah, Jimmy Greer and Abe Lyman, they were with us when we traveled. Remember? Then let's see. Oh, yeah, then Phil Harris joined us.
Remember how corny he was in those days?
What do you mean in those days? Well, that's just about brings us up to date, Mary.
Gee, you've worked with a lot of people, haven't you, Jack?
Those aren't the only ones, Mary. How about my writers? There's Bill Morrow and Ed Boulogne, who are writing my programs now. And you remember Harry Kahn that used to write my programs?
Yes,
And how about all the other actors and actresses that appeared from time to time? Gee, they were all swell, too.
Say, it's getting late. I think we better get started.
Yeah. Gee, you think I look all right, Mary? I wonder if I ought to wear a carnation.
Why don't you wear a bachelor button? It'll bring out your big blue eyes.
No, I'll just wear this carnation. Well, look who's here. Hello, Joni.
Hello, Daddy. Hello, Mommy.
Joni, dear, we've got to leave now, so I think you better kiss Mommy and Daddy goodbye.
Why, Joni Benny, you're not going to the banquet. Why are you wearing an evening dress?
Oh, Daddy, you're so silly. This is a nightgown.
Well, I was only kidding. She thinks I'm always silly. Goodbye, sweetheart.
Goodbye, Daddy. Pull your tails out.
Oh, yes. I forgot. You know, Mary, I think Mary, I think Joni is going to grow up to be just like you. Come on, doll, let's go.
And while Jack and Mary are walking out to their car, which is waiting to take them to the banquet in Los Angeles, Gordon Jenkins has an arrangement of a song which Jack, with the assistance of Phil Harris, did last Sunday on the Jell-O show. Gordon's arrangement is just a little different from Jack's, I think, but I'm sure you'll all recognize the grand old favorite, Ida. Ladies and gentlemen, in just about an hour from now, more than 1,000 of Jack Benny's friends will be gathered at an NBC tribute dinner at the Los Angeles Biltmore Hotel to greet Jack in person, to shake his hand in congratulations for 10 fine years of sterling entertainment on the NBC networks. Tonight, we were happy to bring together some of his many friends who could not appear in person and who instead used NBC facilities to congratulate Mr. Benny on a very highly successful past and to wish him well for just as highly a successful future. This salute has come to you from New York, Chicago, and Hollywood over NBC facilities. This is the National Broadcasting Company.